And because they're using that cash money, you need to know how to give change. If somebody gives you a $20 bill and it's only $5, you're going to be giving them $15. Well, do you have a 10 and a 5 in your cash drawer? Do you have 15 ones? What kind of change do you have to give them? So they've given you a 20 and you need to give them 15 in exchange. So we teach money handling very early, often in middle school and sometimes even in elementary school. So kids, especially if they're buying their school lunch, they will know how to give the money to the cafeteria lady. So we're going to be looking at some questions. So I'll go back to sharing my screen and we're going to look at some questions related to choosing a college. So we've talked about, and again, I'm taking it for granted, I know that everyone is thinking about going to college. And whether you're thinking about going to college in Myanmar or someplace else, all of these questions come into play. Whether you're thinking about going to college in your big cities or in your universities that are at home, or whether you're thinking about going to college in Malaysia, or whether you're thinking about going to college in Thailand, or whether you're thinking about going to college in America, any of those places, all of those places, anywhere around the world, you have to consider what are the costs. So what can I buy with my money? What kind of scholarships do I need to think about in order to get more value? And one of the idioms we're going to talk about today is getting the biggest bang for your buck. So we call our $1 bill, or some people call the $1 bill, a buck. And we'll get into that in a minute. So let's see. How about, you know what? I don't know that I've met Ying before. Good after, well, it's actually morning where you are. Good morning, Ying. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good.
Good. All I want you to read on this slide are the 4 bullets that have the content really of what we're going to talk about initially. So what can I buy with my money, etc. Just read. Yeah. Are you comfortable with that or not?
I don't think so.
It's okay. If you're not comfortable, that's all right. That's why we started simple. So let's see, we'll go to Iris. Iris, can you read those 4 bullets right there?
Yes, teacher. Intro, what can I buy with my money? Different parts of the US have different costs of living. Different university towns have different costs of living. Public transportation is different in different cities and towns.
So this is initially some of the things we're going to look at. We'll look at the public transportation next time, but initially I want to talk and show you some information about these questions. So let's see. Lynn, would you go ahead and read this slide? Are you comfortable with that?
Yes, teacher. Pretty
okay.
good. What can I buy with my US money? $1.25 buys a soda. $1.25 $1 to $2.5 buys a bottle of water, $3.25 gallons of gas, $5 to $50 fast food meal depending on the location. Strategy for college. If possible, look for a scholarship for room and board included. There are a few out there. Room and board means that the rent for the room may have to share with a roommate and board may cover the utilities and food. Sometimes not. Meal plan. Look for the meal plan that fits you. 3 meals a day are not necessary, as breakfast is a meal that you can get in a yogurt, or a cereal, etc.
Very good. So when we're looking at the money, $1, so this right here, $1.25. So one of those green dollars with George Washington on it and a quarter buys the least expensive soda. And it goes up from there. So depending on where you're buying the soda, at the very minimum, at the very least, $1.25. So $1 to $2.50 buys a bottle of water, and sometimes even more expensive if it's in, let's say you go to a concert and you're at a concert or you're going to a baseball game. We went to a baseball game and the bottle of water cost us $4. And that's a lot. So $3.25. Now I think where you live, you buy gas or diesel by the liter. Is that right? For those who have a car, you buy by the liter. So when we're talking about a gallon of gas, we're talking about about 4 times that volume. So here, the $3.25, I paid today $3.02 a gallon for per gallon of gas. Now, sadly, our fast food meals have gone up dramatically since the pandemic. Have you noticed that by where you live? That the costs of food have gone up? Yes? Hey, Yoon said yes. So these strategies, scholarship only, if it's just scholarship for tuition is just tuition usually. There are other costs involved in college. So we'll keep on going. The next slide is cost of living. And this is just basic information. Let's see. How about Swam, would you like to read this one?
Cost of living in the United States. Generally, the East Coast, West Coast cost more than the Midwest or South. Cost of living is determined by average salary for the area, city, state, average rent, cost to live, utilities, cost of food.
Okay, so these are all kinds of things that you should look into and develop a budget related to that. Now, this is an interesting map. So today, I went looking for cost of living, and my husband and I have lived in many, many places. So we've lived in Texas. We've lived in West Virginia, here in the middle. I've lived in New York. I've lived in Colorado. We have lived in, where is it? Tennessee, right here in the middle. So these are places. So when we're looking at this kind of strange map of the United States, you'll see that this area here, let's see if I can take this and draw the northeast part up here. This is probably the most or close to the most. Hawaii is numero uno in cost of living. So you see over here at this side is the cost of living. Hawaii, number one. This is Washington, D.C., number two. Massachusetts, which is where MIT is. It's where Harvard is. I think Yale is also there. California here. New York State. This is New York City, Long Island, etc. Also, Maryland, Oregon, Washington State. So here, Oregon here. Colorado, when we're talking about Denver, right in the middle, is pretty expensive. Different parts. So I took that, and we'll go back to our other slides, but this is a really helpful way to center your discussion on where you want to go to college. I realize we're getting kind of off the path here when we're talking about idioms, but when we're talking about money, money has a lot to do with going to college, right? So cost of living should be obviously a consideration. And then there should be a consideration with temperature and where you want to live, what you want to do. And so remember here just a minute ago, we read the statement that the coasts, so the coast here, West Coast, and then the East Coast are more expensive, generally speaking, than the middle of America. Okay, so then I went and I looked at the most affordable college towns. So you can start looking at these, all right? And you can do a search, Google search, whatever kind of search you want to do, and put in, affordable college towns and. Well, I circled these because not only are they affordable, but they are mild weather. I have lived in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and it is cold. It is icy. We had some really bad car accidents there. I've lived in Ames, Iowa. So right here above Knoxville, Ames, Iowa gets very cold, bitter cold. So the ones that are circled have milder weather and then are also affordable. And I can tell you that Lexington, Kentucky, from my own experience, was a very, very nice city to live in. I had a client there that I took care of for about 3 years. And so I went back to see them every month, and I was there for 2 or 3 days at a time. And it was a very nice location, well connected with a nice, with an airport that was pretty well serviced. And it had a great university. So that's University of Kentucky. There are other places. One is San Marcos, Texas. It's a small town kind of atmosphere, but very, very nice weather. It's on a river and it's beautiful. So anyway, you can see these kind of, you can go and look at these kind of lists and get get an idea about what matters to you. And so consider what matters to you, not only in your study that you want to go for. Do you want to go for, do you want to go to pre-med? Do you want to go to law school? Do you want to go to be a teacher? Is your country going to pay for your education? And so these are all considerations. And I'll tell you that the most expensive school is not always the best. And we'll talk some about that next time, because Yale and Harvard are very hard to get into, for one, but well, they are also very expensive. And they have a high rate of attrition, meaning that when students go there, they're often disillusioned by semester number 2 and are very distressed because of the competition. So we'll talk some more about that next time. So we'll go on and do our idioms about money. So these are some of the idioms about money. If you would, now I realize we have a lot of new people here today. If you would like to read, please put up your hand and then I'll call on you. I know several here with us, and there are many that have been in class together. So if you're comfortable and you wouldn't mind reading, we usually go through the slides, and if there's lots and lots and lots of us, like 30 or 40, then we'll divide up the slides. But since there aren't that many of us here today, you can read an entire slide all by yourself. Okay, the first one I see, Maverick Wilder has up his hand. Go ahead and read this slide.
Get your biggest bang for your buck, meaning get the best values for your limited funds. Origin, it was relating to bank, as in firepower, the first record used in 1954 during the US President Dwight D. Eisenhower's administration, one his Defense Secretary Charles Erwin Wilson used this phrase as the leader of news look policy of depending on nuclear weapons. Instead of increasing its manned army, the US was depending more and more on nuclear arms instead of people. Example, everyone wants to get the biggest bang for your buck. It does take a lot of work to find the best detail. You like saying a good deal, more value for your money squeeze out every last penny.
Okay, and thank you, Maverick. So the biggest bang related to the fact that the US was buying and storing firepower. So bombs and guns and so on, to have more firepower or bang. And so they put their money into firepower. Okay, let's go on. The next one. Let's see if I can get my, there we go. Pass the buck. Now this is an interesting article, and I'm gonna put it in the chat. If you would like to read, go ahead and put up your hand. Let's see. Hey Yoon, would you read this one for this occasion? Pass the buck.
Yeah. Pass the buck, meaning avoid responsibility or blame for something that went wrong. By passing it on to another person, politicians are often known for passing the buck or blame. Origin in the games or poker games in frontier times. To
Mitigate.
mitigate the risk of cheating, the dealer responsibilities of any card game would rotate around the players. The dealer at the game table would be marked with a buck-horn knife. The buck would be stuck in the table. Therefore, to pass the buck meant to pass the responsibility for dealing the cards. Example, Harry Truman, one of our wartime presidents, was famous for saying the buck stops here, so he did not pass the buck off onto someone else. Related sayings, cop out. I don't know that word.
Dodge.
Dodge a bullet, get out of.
So dodge means that you lean to the side to escape the bullet. So if you were leaning to the side and you escaped a bullet, somebody behind you might get that bullet. So in primary school or elementary school, we used to play dodge ball. Did anybody play dodgeball? No. Oh, Theta had played dodgeball. Okay. So dodge a bullet is getting away from the bullet that was coming to you. All right. So who would like to read this one?
Teacher, can I read this?
Let's give someone else the chance first. You read one already. Theta, would you read this one?
Yes. Follow meaning to examine mode of financial transfer in order to rule out crime or corruption. Origin popularized by the 1976 film All the President's Men, a movie about political corruption brought to light by examining money transfers between parties. Example, my cousin is involved in forensic accounting. She follows the money for different suspicious money transfers. Related saying, connect the dots, see the big picture, add it up, bring it all together.
Okay. So follow the money is actually a phrase that people are using today because when you're looking for problems with your credit cards, for example, you need to follow the money and how it's going from your bank to your credit card, or where the credit card charges are being made. So when you're looking, and if you're thinking somebody has hacked into your accounts, that's something that people are very concerned about now, and more so as we go on. Okay, turn on a dime. I think, Sue, you raised your hand last time. Would you like to read this one?
Yeah. Turn on a dime, meaning turn is suddenly in a very small space, change direction quickly. Origin. The expression came about in the early 1900s when horses were trained for transportation. Some horses were so well trained that they could turn in very small spaces. Example, your neighbor's truck may be very powerful, but it can't turn on a dime like your tiny smart car. Related saying, make it you turn around.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Welcome to the class. The next one is money doesn't grow on trees. We've done this one before. Let's see. And let's see here. Phone, is that right? Did I get your name right?
Yes, teacher.
Would you like to read Money Grows on Trees?
Yeah. Money doesn't grow on trees. Origin may have originated in the late 19th century, although no literary origin could be traced with accuracy. Related sayings, nothing is free. Money doesn't come freely, meaning money doesn't come easily or without effort. You should be careful how much money you spend because there is only a limited amount. Example, Dad, can I have a new bike? We can't afford one. Money doesn't grow on trees, you know.
Okay, so I'm going to put this in the chat box there. That is an interesting little discussion about teaching your children the value of money. And so I think it's a valuable blurb, if you want to call it that. It's a blog, it's a podcast, however you want to call it. All right, so who would like to read the next one? It's called Split the Bill. And Freddie, welcome to the class. Is this your first time, Freddie, with our class?
No, I have been your meeting I think last Thursday.
Okay, well,
I can join your meeting last Saturday because I have to go to church. So that I'm sorry about
good.
that. Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. We've been having this class for a while, and I don't think we've ever discussed money before. So this is our discussion of today. And so you would like to read this one?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
Split the bill, meaning dividing the restaurant bill in half rather than everyone just paying for their meal. Origin, the terms come from restaurant dining etiquette in the Western
Good.
etiquette in the Western world, where each person pays for their own meal. Example, be careful, splitting the bill can cost you. Ask for separate bills from the beginning. Related things, gold Dutch.
Okay, so splitting the bill, especially when you go out to eat with several people, you know, a party, a group, the problem is that if people are ordering expensive meals and you are not, then if you're splitting the bill, which is usually a 50-50, so everybody's paying a part, that can really be expensive. So be careful, you know, as you're going into the college world, especially when you go out for a meal, it's helpful to make it clear to the waiter or the waitress at the beginning, we're going to have separate bills. Or maybe the professor is going to buy the meal for everybody. Sometimes that does happen. Okay, let's see. We have one last one, and then we'll do some discussion. One last one. Who would like to read this one? Iris, how are you today?
I'm fine.
Would you like to read this one?
Yes, teacher. Not worth the paper it's print on, meaning no value or validity whatsoever. Origin in 1861, Court John and Wilhelm from Germany dismissed
Dismissed.
dismissed concurring the recurrent.
So let's go slower. Dismissed. So that means he sent it out. He said, this is no good. A document concerning the recognition or recognizing of Italy as a nation state. So then you can keep going from here.
Writing words to the effect that the guarantees are not worth the paper they are written on. Example, this rental agreement is not worth a paper it's printed on. That landlord is not a man of his word. He swindles his tenants on every occasion related saying, not worth a hail of beans, not worth diddly squat.
Diddly squat. Basically, it's worth nothing. So last time we did not worth a hill of beans. That was one that came up in discussion. And this time, this is related to a discussion about money, especially when money has been devalued through, for example, if our money is devalued because the stock market does bad things, goes down and so on, people will say our money's not worth the paper it's printed on. Well, that's a really bad thing. Other people will use that when they're talking about the value of an agreement, the value of a lease, the value of a legal document that they might have gotten. And so they might say that lease or that rental agreement is not worth the paper it's printed on. And there are reasons for that. And sometimes we get into, oh, the landlord is not a good landlord and he doesn't take care of the people that rent from him and so on. Okay, so we've had an interesting class today. Did you find the information helpful in any way?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. We're going to talk more about money and specifically some other things having to do with choosing a college or targeting colleges that you want to go to. Uniquely, Dave and I went to a number of colleges and quite a experience in finding the colleges that he went to. And we had quite an adventure in finding his college for PhD when he was choosing between several different places to go to. And you'd think that it would just be easy, and it's not as easy as you think. I happen to be very fortunate in that my mother had done her research, and my mother basically told me where I was going to go to college, and there was no choice. I basically had no choice. I said, yes, I'll do what you want me to do, Mom. And I applied to that college and they accepted me. So that was pretty easy, but it's not always that simple. Sometimes there are many, many things that come into play when we're discussing where to go to college. Has anybody started the process of application? Not yet.
Not yet, teacher.
Not yet. Okay. What kind, have you looked at what your major is going to be? Are you considering where you want to have your major? And what kind of majors are you looking at? You can put them in the chat if you want to. Or you can just shout it out and we can talk about that.
I'm looking for some like biochemistry or like kind of science major, because
Okay.
I have learned in high school the physics, chemistry. So yeah,
Okay.
currently I am think of it like
In what kind, so what would what would you like to do as a career?
I think if I choose the biochemistry or science of physics or something like that, so I can choose my career as a physician or as a pharmacy or pharmacistician, yeah, in
Mhm.
a pharmacy.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Okay.
I'm think of it first. And about health science is also interesting, and I'm also interested in like political a little bit. So I'm not sure yet. Sure.
Well, interesting note, Hayoon. Interesting note. One of the fastest growing careers for women, okay, there's several, but one of the fastest growing careers is pharmacy. Another very fast growing career is eye doctor. And I know this sounds very, very unusual. I'm going to write it in the chat because there are specific words or there are specific schools for OPTOMETRY, optometry. Now, this is not an MD. This is an OD. So you don't have to go to medical school per se. You go to the school where they teach you about eyes. All right, that's a very interesting and upcoming career for women. Health sciences are on the increase as careers for women because there you can make a very good wage, and with your multilingual skills, you can go many, many places. Okay. Who else would like to talk about their major that they're looking at?
Yes. I want to attend a program, BSc program that dealing with environmental science because I want to be an environmental scientist.
Okay, so scientists or hard sciences, we call them hard sciences like biochemistry that Hayoon mentioned, physics and biology and so on. The hard sciences are up and coming areas for women to work in. And I will say that in my husband got his PhD in chemistry, in analytical chemistry. And he worked for years for the government at a government lab. More and more, there are women coming into science, not just as teachers, but as scientists who are really making a difference in technology, in computer technology, in health sciences, and so on. So don't be afraid and keep looking to what things that you would like to do. Who else is thinking about their career?
Me.
Flora, what are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about, I'm really interested in business uses, so I think I'm gonna choose business administration major or uses.
Okay, and are you thinking about accounting in any way?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a funny story. So funny, not funny, but interesting. One of the sentences I used today was, my cousin is a forensic accountant. So she's an accountant who is a detective. And because she has this knack for following the money, she has had a very interesting career. And forensic accounting can start as auditing, which is very easy. I shouldn't say easy. It's not, money is never easy, but auditing is a job that is spread out over a lot of workplaces, including the government. In any government, there is a level of auditing because of taxes. And you know what taxes are, right? Everybody pays taxes in some way, whether you pay taxes on things you buy, or whether you pay taxes on places you live, or whether you pay taxes on property or cars, or the money that you make, you pay taxes in some way. So the government, every government has an element of auditing. Every company, big company, corporations have an element of auditing because they want to make sure that people are not swindling or taking money from them, okay? So forensic accounting is taking that up several notches. So it's not just auditing, which has a broad base, but it's auditing like a detective. And that can be a very, very interesting and unusual and lucrative, making a lot of money. She makes quite a lot of money now. And she actually got a certification as a forensic accountant. So anyway, let's see. We are going to talk some more about money. Next time, we'll look a little bit more at public transportation, and we'll also look again at money itself, the paper, dollars, the coins, and how they're exchanged and so on. And we'll definitely have some more idioms. Are there any idioms that you have heard about money? So I'm putting in the chat the name of the movie where Follow the Money came from. So the name of the movie is All the President's Men. If you have, it's an old movie, so it's probably an easy one to find on YouTube or streaming from a lot of different places. And it's an